There was just so much.
You're listening to a Mamamia podcast.
Mamamia acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this podcast on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures.
Here we are. Fidget toys.
Oh my God, that's really funny for when people get twitchy.
Well, because I've got ADHD, so I need it.
Oh, that's important.
Yes, I need to play.
I thought it was on wheels and it wasn't.
I know, it's not on
okay,
it's not on wheels.
Taping. That's fine. Just make my ass look good, if you could.
Yeah, it's always good. Your ass always looks good.
Oh, hold on, let me just...
Okay, take a breathe. From Mamamia, I'm Mia Friedman, and you're listening to No Filter. Laura Brown has had a really big year. In February, she lost her job very publicly as the editor-in-chief of InStyle magazine in the US.
I mean, you'd be a bloody idiot to put your whole future in magazines.
She's an Aussie girl who grew up on a farm in Camden in New South Wales and who moved to New York in her 20s to become the most successful and influential Australian woman in the fashion industry. If you don't work in fashion media, her name probably won't be familiar to you, but if that is your world, the name Laura Brown will make you swoon because she's an icon. She's done covers with everyone, literally everyone, from Rihanna to Oprah. And if you ever stole her phone, which I was very tempted to do when she came into the studio here at Mamamia, you would be able to text Jennifer Aniston, Monica Lewinsky, Michelle Pfeiffer, Naomi Watts, Brooke Shields, Miranda Kerr, and dozens of other A-list women who she considers among her close friends. Laura Brown is very much a girl's girl, famous or not. But back to that day a few months ago where she lost her job.
People, when they get, let go, fired, brand closed, sometimes they just go like, I left. I'm like, freaking leave. Like, we all, I am confident enough to actually say they closed the thing down and we all lost our jobs. No, I left and I'm just going to go and weave a basket for a month. No, I'm around.
The next day, she attended a fashion show because of course she did. That's how Laura Brown rolls. And 8 weeks later, she got married to her partner, Brandon, after some aborted attempts during COVID. They had their wedding. It was a very beautiful ceremony and celebration in Hawaii. Everyone went pretty hard. You may have seen the photos, not just on her Instagram, but on the Instagrams of a lot of A-list celebrities that were there. And they were surrounded by their family and friends, many of whom could have brought bodyguards, but didn't, because it wasn't that kind of vibe. Even if you don't know who Laura is, you might remember scrolling through her wedding on Instagram. She wore a pink dress, and you are about to find out why. So what's it like losing your job, planning an epic wedding during a pandemic, and having to reinvent your career all in the space of a few months? Laura Brown is going to tell you. Laura Brown.
Yeah.
I have long thought that you are the most talented magazine editor of our generation.
Yeah, that's very nice. Thank you.
I have always thought that because you have such vision. And what it means to be a magazine editor in 2022 is very different to when you and I were coming up in magazines and I was at Cosmo, you were at Harper's Bazaar. I was trying to convince you to come and work with me at Cosmo because I thought you were so talented. You were like, no, I'm going to America. And I was like, that's a terrible idea. And look how right I was.
You were correct.
I was so
I'm
right.
sitting in here jobless.
Correct. In the end, I was right. But it's a really bloody tough time for legacy magazine mastheads like InStyle. When did you first know that change was in the air and that things were in trouble?
Years ago. I registered my own media company 2 years ago. It's an illegal Zoom binder. One thing you learn in magazine editing or otherwise, particularly in that you grow your own equity. And when you understand that the industry is challenged and you're helping keep something going and it's you for better or for worse, you understand that. So you're not so dependent on where you work because it has been like that. You know what?
So
really
you knew you were building your brand alongside InStyle because you made InStyle current. Before it was kind of like, celebrity homes and a picture of Jennifer Aniston in a black dress on the cover.
Yeah.
You made these incredible photos and you chose incredible people to be on the covers, which then these images went viral and people were talking about InStyle in a way that they weren't, whether that translated to people buying physical magazines or not.
Yeah.
You made the brand relevant, but you knew that you were building your own brand at the same time.
I think, because because you have to exist in so many different planes, and I got the job in the first place because of people knew that I could, when it was Time Inc., which is the first of 3 companies we worked for, but I got the job in the first place because people knew I could run a magazine, but it's because of how I was on social and everything. It's because of who I was as a person and how I communicated
the modern editor,
what I was doing. So it was all just intrinsic anyway. So I think that's really helpful in any industry, especially industry that's challenged. But, it was interesting because COVID, don't miss it, obviously, but it really reinvigorated me in magazine making because it was so hard.
How did you shoot covers? How did you do anything during
so
COVID?
Fucking hard. But I was like, okay, this is a really challenging time in history. We have to be on the right side of history. We're journalists. Like, let's go. Like, take a swing. Take a freaking swing. And just keep trying. Sometimes I would just run a screen grab of a Zoom in the magazine. I never shot through Zooms because I feel like that's so impersonal. I didn't like it. I was like, I gave Drew Barrymore a camera and said, shoot your own story. I gave Alicia Keys' husband and son, they shot her story. This is when they really, like, when you couldn't have, like, I think our last cover we did before it really came in was Lady Gaga. And then I shot Carrie Mulligan. So I put her on the next one. And then I think it was Alicia with her family. Then it was Drew. So it was just people at home. And I'm not, you just don't get precious about that. As long as it's got the voice and the energy of the person, it's kind of lovely to have someone shoot themselves at home, And we couldn't really shoot, I think we had about 5 or 6 issues with no one, with like, people at home or whatever. Then we were able to have like masked up. Like first set, we did 2 Zendaya shoots through COVID, but the first one was like masked up, like aerial shots, like crazy stuff. But I remember that we'd been in COVID for like 3 months, and I was like, I want to do a story about community, a cover about community. And I was like, I was always obsessed with this very famous picture by a photographer called Omar Gili, and it's called Girls in the Windows. And it's in the 50s in New York, and it's all these women in beautiful, almost couture dresses in windows in an old building in New York City, and it's exquisite. And I was like, said to my team, can we do something like that? And no one could even like breathe on each other, but we found this building in Brooklyn that was interestingly an artist community. Like, people had studios in there and stuff. And so we did this cover. We shot it across the street, like masked up, fitting them, with all these people in their windows, because I really wanted to talk about community and how we felt like we were missing it. So we did really hard shit. Like, we were chasing Dr. Fauci since whatever, and I wanted to ask about him and his wife, and that's why he said yes. And so we shot him by a pool, and I always do my senior man trick. I just put sunglasses on him.
Makes any man look suddenly fashion.
Yeah, well, Biden always obviously does it, but it was, all the BLM stuff, everything. It was so hard. Trump, I was like, we're doing the job here. You know what I mean? We've got to show up and do the right thing. And we didn't just discover melanin in like June 2020. So for those 2 years, it was really rolled up sleeves and really like, we're like, let's just go. And I feel very strongly that if you had a platform like that during that time or any time, you freaking better swing.
And when during this time did you start to become aware that maybe the magazine in its print form was going to close, or that your job was in danger?
I know this sounds so disingenuous. I wasn't thinking about it because I was thinking onward things. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not one for like corporate politics and like who's the new boss and I got to chat him up. Like, I have more of a sense of my value than that. So I was a bit like eyes out the window,
Eyes out the window thinking, where am I going to jump to next?
What I'm thinking about the stuff I'm going to do, because you have to, you own this equity. You should really start, you understand, you are your own brand. You started your own brand. You don't want to keep doing that for somebody else's benefit and somebody else's brand. So I wasn't sitting there going like, what are they going to do? And we just got bored.
How did you find out it was over?
Can't say. Oh, that sounds like it was a murder. No, we just were like,
NDAs. You had to sign things.
Yeah, I mean, it was all fine. All of my team are now placed, and everything else. But you can't invest all your equity in where you work, period. Doesn't matter.
I want to ask you about identity.
Where you are, because then you don't have a lot to stand on if something changes. You know what I mean?
Who was the first person you called?
My agent.
What does your agent do?
He wasn't doing much because, I mean this because he was joking with me. He was like, for years, he was like, if you persist in this stupid bloody job, what am I going to
So why did you have an agent? Why did you initially
sign?
sign?
Speaking stuff, and I was doing some video stuff and everything. And then when I was editor-in-chief, I was just too busy to run around doing speaking things or trying to do telly or whatever. So it was just funny. He was like lying dormant.
And so you woke him from his slumber.
No, it was so funny.
Activated
I literally texted him and said, getting fired, call you in 30 minutes.
work mode activated.
No, and he was like, zzz. But I think that's it. If you've earned your stripes. When you've earned your stripes, I do think those sort of things are, easier to digest. I mean, you'd be a bloody idiot to put your whole future in magazines.
What about identity? Like when you woke up the next day and you didn't have a job, you're someone who loves to work.
Yeah, I had this absolutely bonkers outpouring of texts and Instagram DMs, like almost like you're reading your eulogy, but you're still alive. It was great. I was like, I should print them all out if I'm having a bad day and like put them in an ego folder. So I was really overwhelmed by all of these texts. And then I went to a fashion show next that day. It was the middle of Fashion Week. So I went to the Proenza show, Proenza School of New York brand. And I just was like, I'm just going to go to this show now. It was so funny. And I was like, can you believe it? Can you believe it? Can you believe it? But I didn't. My industry, people when they get, let go, fired, brand closed, sometimes they just go like, I left. I'm like, freaking leave. Like we all you've got to like sort of own.
You didn't try to spin it.
I am confident enough to actually say they closed the thing down and we all lost our jobs. No, I left and I'm just going to go and weave a basket for a month. No, I'm around. And you can do whatever you want to do when, have a change of career. If you want to go and lie in bed or go to an island or go do interviews or do whatever you feel in your gut you want to do. But I'm always been like part of things. So I'm just not going to stop it even if it was like the day after. Had some good wine.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
But there's no...
There was no shame.
Face. No.
Yeah.
No. And especially when it's an industry thing that is, that sort of company that bought us, it's sort of their DNA. No, there isn't. And I really urge, and especially in challenged industries or industries that are changing, don't feel it's on you or it's your fault. And don't give the people too much power. Don't say they did this to me. X or Y did this to me. Don't ever do that. Don't undersell yourself like that. You know what I mean? Don't do yourself a disservice. Very American. You're worthy. But, you are.
Yeah.
It's just not that hard.
You're such an interesting hybrid of American and Australian. And
I'm a hybrid vehicle.
There's some weird shit going on in America around
you think?
Trump, around no abortion, around COVID. How much as an Australian do you have to be a little careful? Because you don't play it safe on your socials. I've always admired that about you. And Americans are often very, I don't want to offend anyone.
Yeah, second guessing everything.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not railing at everything every day because I feel like, when you just scream every day, what have you got? And especially, I don't want to hear from a bunch of liberal women who are just hashtagging every day either. It's like, well, you're fine, aren't you? I think it's as simple as trying to be on the right side of history and trying to push things along a bit. You can just become part of the din. I think that if you are, and I can't vote, in the States yet. I'm still on a green card. But I noticed the other day, and it was very interesting, since passed, there's something called the PACT Act, which is funding for vets, for Army military vets who had been exposed to toxic burn pits in Afghanistan and Iraq. And this climate bill was passing through, which was a surprise bill, which is all very good news that Joe Manchin and Chuck Schumer, who's the head of the Senate, were passing, that the Republicans kind of knee-jerked and sort of spitefully voted against it by not passing this PACT Act, which basically said, wounded vets who are maybe dying of cancer can't get extra help. It was so disgusting. It was so disgraceful. And a big advocate for vets is Jon Stewart. I mean, he's a legendary talk show host, comedian.
Campaigns for vets, yeah.
And so he did this press conference for outside
the White
Senate.
House.
And he was very enraged, and I sort of taped all of it. It's 9 minutes long and put it on my Insta. And then I saw the next day it had been viewed 1 million times. And so I thought that's where my use is. And it's not just
use your celebrity wisely.
Just use your reach and deploy it tactfully and specifically and not just hashtag no, because that makes me roll my eyes too. Be deliberate, and if you think it can be of use, and just not just sitting there and saying, vote, yeah, we get it. You know what I mean? What can get something changed or what's going to be effective? At least sometimes if I do a video, people can actually watch it. And but I'm not railing at stuff every day because no one wants to hear from me every day.
I do. The last few months has probably been the longest period you haven't worked for someone else.
I
imagine
know.
you've been setting stuff up for yourself. What
Yeah.
have you been doing and what are you going to be doing?
I haven't done. It was a really great sort of confluence of events. It was like the magazine closing, and then we got married 8 weeks after or something. So I was like, okay, let's see if we can go to Hawaii earlier because I don't have stuff to do. All I really have done, I've hosted like a couple of events, and I did something on Clubhouse. I did a residency, which is sort of like a podcast, but like just live. And I was like, what do you mean it's just on the phone? I just click on and talk to like a lovely actress and then go, dink. It was best. So I did that. I'm going to start my own thing. I will work for me now. That's it. Thanks very much. That was always going to be the go. I think the best way to describe it is like an umbrella over a buffet. It's all different things, but it's going to come back to, I'm going to talk about myself in the third person, LB. Like it's like I'm going to work in some film, I think, TV, pod, design, consulting, all sorts of stuff. But it's just going to come back to this, and it's all going to coalesce in a way that I think will have some sort of community. But I'm not really at the moment doing media for media's sake. Like I'm doing like, I'll host the thing. I miss shoots. I miss like cover shoots and stuff. I miss having like
The
an
creative
idea when
outlet,
people show
yeah.
up for it and then you know you've got that magic in the room and you've got it. It's the best. It's so thrilling. I miss that a bit.
Do you have investors?
Oh, no. Like I'll get to that again, but like I don't want to ask people for anything. I don't ask people for money. The whole advertising model of magazines is just so exhausting, and you're walking around with like your tin cup, going like, please, I really was chafing at that because I was like, well, look, I think you should know X, Y outlet is a good investment or not. So no, it's just me. It's like I will be the, what do they say in the States? The talent.
You'll be the talent, and how will you get paid?
By people I work with and for.
So you'll
around.
work with brands, and you'll work with partners,
Brands,
media partners.
I'm going to partner with See Her, which is a big media organization there for a podcast. And so different partners for different things. And I keep forgetting things I'm doing sometimes. And Brandon goes, no, remember you're doing, it's my husband. But it's sort of I'm really going to hit go in the fall because we didn't have to work, and we got married and we went to Europe for like 5 bloody weeks. We're like, when are I ever going to get that time again?
Without having work to go back to.
All those things together, So we sort of really indulge. And I'm never normally in Sydney in August, but I love it down here in August. And like everyone is on vacation up in the States. So it was like, bye, I'm going to go down here. So I really prize my mobility now. You know what I mean? Not having to go to an office every single day.
Not having to be responsible for a team.
No, I mean, I work with people all the time, and I'm super social. Obviously, I host a lot of events and everything. So I'm not like I'm in in obscurity.
After the break, how do you plan a wedding with Oscar winners and supermodels and your dairy farmer sister? And also, I asked the question, are kids off the table? Tell me about organising a wedding in COVID for 2 years.
Oh, well, it gave you a lot to look forward to. We were supposed to get married originally in October 2020. And you wouldn't believe what happened. It was nuts, guys.
Were plans
We had
quite
to like
underway?
stay home. Relatively, yeah. We'd sent out invites, I think. Yeah.
And where was it
No, we
gonna
hadn't
be?
printed the invites. We'd sent the save the dates. Same place where it ended up being,
Okay.
in Kauai. So we'd sent the save the dates out, and then we changed it twice. We got a bit stupid and thought we could do it like in 2021. It was never going to happen. So we just went, just kidding. I think we moved it to May 2021, and then we went, no, April 2022. And it's so funny. I had friends being like, did you want to do something different? I was like, no. Not in a Zillow way, but just in a, no, bloody hell, we've waited this long.
Yeah.
We shall have our wedding in Kauai. And we did, and we had that sort of lovely window where, not even a window, I think when people thought they could get out again and travel, and Aussies could travel, and it was actually most convenient for Australians.
I
It was only
did
9.5 hours.
speak to someone who got COVID at your wedding.
Oh, yes.
As in any big gathering, people tend to...
Only 5.
A few people get it.
Only 5.
Well, the birthday party I just went to, 12 people got
Yeah.
it. So 5 is not a big number.
Out of 240, you know what I mean? And it was like, and everyone could travel, and there's planes and everything else. Anybody that got COVID at the wedding said to me, if I was going to get COVID, best place to get it. And I said, thank you. It's our gift to you. You're so welcome. Yeah.
Watching the wedding on Instagram, as so many people did,
Very enthusiastic
Yeah.
posters, weren't there?
it felt like an emancipation. Like it felt very joyous
Yeah,
because it was the first wedding I'd seen in a couple of years.
Since all of it.
Yeah, that wasn't like a scaled down. It was like as if COVID didn't exist for a hot minute.
You know, we had people who were coming for 2 years and eventually had to work or couldn't come. And that was like happened a lot with everyone. But what I wanted it to be like, and what my husband branded was like a big, beautiful chili. Like I just wanted to stir all these different people up because there was been so much change, and I was pretty sanguine about like people couldn't come or they could, or some people who could come last minute. I had no idea that they ever could. That's why I was like, I doubled down. I was like, no, we're going to bloody Kauai. You know, like people will love it. Even people who came from Europe, heroic, you know, they landed, they're off their heads, but they were like, no one regretted it. No one regretted being there, you know. So it was just a throwdown. Everyone was so excited. Everyone met everyone from all these different worlds. And like my sister Emily, who's a dairy farmer, was like the freaking celeb, you know, like, what's it like? You know, and it was exactly what we wanted. And one of those weddings where like, you know, and like everyone's on the dance floor, not like half and half.
Yeah.
Just everyone.
It looked heaving.
Like chocolate. It was heaving.
It was heaving.
It was heaving.
What you say about it being a melting pot, it must have been such an interesting intersection of all the different parts of your life because there were the most extraordinary A-listers there and everyone in between.
Right.
So
a rich tapestry, I'd call it.
It was a rich tapestry. You know, it can always be awkward when you have a party and different parts of your life come together.
Yeah.
When you've got like A-list celebrities at your wedding, do you feel like an extra level of because they're famous and you want to sort of protect them?
Not really, because I think anybody who's friends with us is chill. You know what I mean? That sounds like a pat answer, but it's like if you have 6 security guards, you're not coming to our wedding. You know what I mean? You're not going to be like, you're not coming to Kauai. I think any friendships I have are genuine. If people who are known were worried about it being photographed or whatever, they just wouldn't have come, I don't think, or they just showed up. But there really wasn't anything. I just feel like we were kind of the sanctioning, like the two of us. It was like, if you're mates with us, you know what we're like. You know who our friends are. You're looking forward to meeting our family who you've never met. And it was just kind of status quo. I never felt, and I'm not being disingenuous, I never felt worried about anyone. I never felt like that there was awkward stuff or even like post-game, because it's funny, like when you talk to people who went to the wedding afterwards when you've seen them around, I always joke it's like piecing together a crime scene. I'm like, there was just no scandals. Like, oh my God, I loved her and I loved her and I loved him and she was amazing. There was no weirdness. There was no, and I think that like, it was just testament to the levels and casualness of our friendships, I guess. And, you know, I've been in the States for 20 years, so a lot of people I've met through work, I've known them for a long time.
Being friends with famous people can be weird though. I mean, my world is not like your world, but I've got some friends who are very high profile, like recognised in the street stuff.
Yeah.
And there can be a weirdness about that. And I've also had people who started to be friends, but it felt kind of weird because things I would ask a normal friend would suddenly somehow maybe feel intrusive because they were famous. And look, it's a self-filtering process, but how have you kind of navigated that?
I think most people I know who are well-known I've worked with, I've shot or like, photographed. I have not killed them. So there's a trust level that's been built over years and years and years because when someone works with you for a photo shoot and they don't know you, there's a vulnerability there, you know. And so I think when you end up meeting them, not just at a party, when you've sort of worked with them, there's this baseline of familiarity that you get because they put themselves in your hands creatively. So I feel like that sort of is a bit of a ballast. If
You've
that makes
worked
sense
with,
for,
it does.
like, for friendships rather than just like, you know, at least from my relationship with them, because they've had to be interviewed by me or photographed or da-da, and they've sort of gone like, oh, you're just like a nice Australian lady. Like it's not, there's not another layer or another agenda there ever. But I'm talking about like Americans, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, look, if you're at a restaurant with somebody who's well-known and somebody comes up and, you know, I mean, that's always a bit weird. But you just sort of, I go into a bit of a friendly, protective thing. I'm sure you do too. Like just like, oh, hi, you know, or like I was with Hunter Schafer from Euphoria. We're at a party in Paris and she didn't have a publicist with her and people were like coming up and I was like, I'll take the picture. Like, come on, you know what I mean? So
move them along.
Yeah, I think that's all you do. And people that I know are friendly people, you know what I mean? And not like living, you know, behind, well, if they're living behind closed gates, that's where you see them.
Yeah.
You know?
You've worked with everybody. Like
I've worked with everybody.
You actually have. Like there's no one that you haven't worked with, pretty much. I mean, the most famous people in the world.
Yeah.
How does a friendship develop versus it can be quite intimate on a shoot day or even in an interview, right?
Right.
But then how does it then move into an off real world friendship?
I mean, it's sex.
Obviously.
It's just so much sex.
Yeah. God, you must be good at it.
I'm great at it. God, you wouldn't think I was so bendy, but I really am.
Who knew? It's deceptive. It's because you're very tall.
I know. I look tired.
It's a lot of you to go around.
As with any friendship, you get the measure of someone. I haven't made friends with everybody I've worked with. You know, if I've met someone and they're kind of racy and up for it, then we kind of get on. You know what I mean? And if there's someone who's just a bit like got a lot of handlers or, you know, then I'm not going to carry a friendship away from them, then I'm not interested in that either. Like I'm not, like I've met enough people and I've got the level of enough people. I'm not chasing friendships with anybody because they're notable. It's like if they're freaking cool and we make cool stuff together and they come back and we have a laugh and there's trust and they know to trust me. And I think that's what I value. I mean, someone was asking, I was doing an interview the other day with like some school or something and like, what are you most proud of in your career? And it was funny. I was like, the people trust me. And it doesn't matter if you're like super high profile or not or whomever, but like you think that I'm trustworthy and you can share things with me. If I'm outside of a lot of these people's worlds in a way, like I'm not an LA actress.
And you're Australian. You know, I was going to ask you about that.
I am quite, like I don't think being simple is a diss. As in, I'm a nice person, I'm smart, I do good work, I'm nice to people, I go to bed, have a glass of wine, repeat. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's sort of it. I don't have some agenda or, you know, so I feel like that maybe that is communicated a bit. And I'm just not like, I'm not competing with anybody, you know, I'm not trying to get the role. But like women, you know, there's a big solidarity there.
You're
too,
a woman's
you know?
woman.
I am.
You really are a woman's woman.
I love the ladies.
It's interesting. And you do love the ladies.
I love the ladies.
And it's very obvious. You know, because
I am a girl's girl, woman's woman. Yeah, I guess I've grown out of girl's girl. But I am. No, I am. I really
I've always thought that about you. It comes across.
I've always loved just good girlfriends. And I always found like the gals that didn't have close girlfriends and I was like, well, I used to call them boy girls.
Yeah.
I was like, well, who are you playing to, sis? Like, and who are going to be like your mates at the end of the day?
Those women that go,
I mean?
I just get on better with men. And you're like,
no.
That's all I need to know about you.
No. I just love saying no Australian style because it gets stronger here too. No.
Yeah. No.
No.
It's got a lot of vowels. It's got a lot of syllables. No.
No.
When you are the editor or when you have been the editor of the biggest fashion magazine in the world, how do you choose what to wear to your own wedding?
Oh, well, that was actually easy because I have a very, very close friend, Pia Paolo, who is now the sole designer of Valentino. I met him, I used to work at Harper's Bazaar before InStyle, and we would do all these designer shoots. And it was him and Maria Grazia, True, who now does Dior, and they started,
I don't know any of those words. I mean, I know I just got Dior.
That's all right. Maria Grazia Dior.
It's a person?
It's a person.
Who works at Dior.
Yeah, she runs Dior. She's designs for Dior now, but they used to do Valentino together.
I understand.
They came up in accessories for years at Valentino, and then they got the design gig when Mr. Valentino retired. This is about 2011, I guess. And so we'd always see the two of them. If we did stories with them, whatever. And Maria Grazia's nice, but she's much more serious than Pia Paolo is. And Pia Paolo would be like, louder. Let's dance. I'm going to show you how to jump like Carly Kloss. And so we do dumb pictures together and we just became fast friends. And then Maria Grazia left to go to Dior about 5 years ago, I guess it is now. And so he got Valentino, maybe even 6, Valentino on his own. And I think he's the most spectacular designer in the world and the loveliest person and has gorgeous family and does great work. So that was just it. I was like, it has to be Valentino and it has to be pink and it has to have pockets.
It has to be pink.
It has to be pink.
That's not expected.
No, but I was like, who am I kidding? I'm not a virgin.
I didn't want to make any assumptions.
I know. I'd say, imagine if I'd saved myself for 47 years. God,
but I
I'd be
mean,
tired.
you know, but white, it's not often that you get to wear a white dress. It's kind of like.
I just felt like I felt like let me say it's wrong because pink is actually a bit more junior than white now I think about it. But like I was like, I think I've grown out of white. I'll wear pink. But even though pink is worn by like kids, I don't know. I just wanted to wear pink. I think it was a bit more subversive. I always remember, I think it was Gwen Stefani's wedding dress when she married like Gavin Rossdale, like 1,000. I remember thinking that was like, was it Westwood or something? But it was pink. And we're going, oh, that's cool. And so I was like, I just want a pink dress. And I wanted like a a ruffle off the shoulder because my aunt married my uncle in about 1980 and she just had one of those 80s dresses. It's probably polyester, I don't even know. But it had like the off-the-shoulder ruffle and just like the waist, very simple, like very Xanadu actually.
Yeah.
And so I wanted a pink one with a ruffle and then I wanted pockets. And people probably calls them pocketza.
Pocketza. What were in the pocketza?
Nothing, even though I really toyed with taking my phone up the aisle. I didn't. I really missed it though, even when I was up there. Because we did a selfie with everyone from behind. No,
I saw.
No one ever shoots the crowd at the wedding.
Yeah.
And when the photographer was doing pictures of the bride pictures, and he's awesome. But he's like, and I'm like, I'm not ethereal, man. I'm 47. Like,
yeah,
I'm going to stick my hand in my pocket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, and the picture that we ended up going with was like my hand in my pocket. But this is after like half the guests had like blasted the blade dress everywhere. And I was like, the next morning, I was like, shit, can I get a picture of my own dress so I don't get scooped? Pockets, girls, pockets. Pockets in your wedding dress, pockets in any dress.
I just wanted to end by asking you a question that might be too personal and feel free not to answer it.
Yeah.
Kids.
Oh.
And a younger husband.
Kids and a younger husband. Maybe, well, look, it's not going to come from me. I'm 48 years old. I mean, God bless those ladies that want to do that. That's not for me. Not for me, everyone.
Do you mean carrying a baby?
Yeah, no. Full props.
Did you want to?
I've always been pretty pragmatic about it. You know what I mean? Like I didn't meet Brandon until I was 41. So,
and he was
when I met him, he's 16 years younger than me.
Yeah.
So he's turning 32 finally.
Did you have that conversation early on, like kids?
Not super early on, but it's just like when you're that age, it's just like it wasn't like, you meet someone when you're 25 and you screw around for 10 years. When you physically meet someone at 41, you know what I mean? You've got to be pragmatic about where that gets you. We may. Long story short is like the physical pressure is not on me, you know what I mean? So I don't want to be 65 years old either, but like we're getting through all this change of stuff and we will see.
It's not off the table.
My God, you just brought a baby in here on this table. Oh my God, she gift wrapped it. She's surprise! Every guest leaves with a baby.
It's true. I've been working with Brandon behind the scenes. We organised a surrogate, and here she is.
You guys are so generous. I thought I was just enjoying the watermelon water.
It's true. Yeah, but you thought that was all you were going to get when you came in for a conversation.
And so much more. So much more.
I love you, LB. I can't wait to see what you do next.
All the things.
I think you're amazing.
And all the ladies, do all the things if you can.
Yeah.
If you have any license and any equity to do that, please do it. Please believe in yourself enough to do it.
And that, friends, is my chat with Laura Brown. Legend. Lovely woman who then we made her stay even longer because you know how in the beginning I said that if you work in the fashion media, you will be swooning at the name Laura Brown. Well, there's a lot of people at Mamamia who don't work in the fashion media but maybe did once upon a time. And she's also just a bit iconic among young journalists in particular. So she stayed and answered their questions and made everybody laugh hysterically. And everybody fell a little bit in love with her because she's Laura Brown. The assistant producer of No Filter is Emmeline Peterson, and the executive producer and big lady boss of Mamamia podcasts is Eliza Ratliff. I'm a little bit scared of her. And I'm Mia Friedman. If you believe in women's media, if you believe in a purpose-driven media company like Mamamia, whose core purpose is to make the world a better place for women and girls, please consider becoming a paid subscriber to Mamamia. A portion of our profits goes to educating girls in some of the most vulnerable communities in the world through our charity partners, and it only costs $5.75 a month.